What's up guys, this is Void of This Gaming, your channel for fresh Arena of Valor content, and there is nothing as fresh as the new Arena of Valor Beta 37 update. If you guys have been playing the game in the last couple of days, you will already have been playing this new beta update because it has been introduced to the game a couple of days before. And this video is not going to be as long as the other videos because it's actually quite short and simple. We can divide it into 4 different topics. The first one is the battlefield changes or the battlefield adjustments. It's basically about mechanics on the battlefield as well as some things that you will get to know when you are checking for your equipment or these sorts of things. The next topic or the next theme is going to be the career system that Arena of Valor has just introduced. I think this is most interesting for the newer players, so if you have been playing the game for 4 to 5 years, that might just not be that tempting, but still it's a good thing to get new players on board, so we need to discuss that. The third part is about all the hero adjustments. We're going to talk about the new hero that has been introduced, or the new old hero that has been introduced to the game, HELEN, as well as the 4 heroes that have been touched by this update. Mainly we're talking about Lorian here, Murad, Baldom, and Zenial. Those are the 4 heroes that have been buffed, nerfed, and kind of twisted with the new update, with the new patch. And last but not least, Arena of Valor has been given a new game mode, which is the double ultimate mode, and we're going to talk about that in brief as well. So let's get started for today's video. I will put down kind of sections for every single point here, so if you are interested in a certain topic, you can just hop or jump to that specific point. And yeah, I'm curious to do that. I hope it's not going to be that long as the last ones in the past. And I would say let's get started. So if you like this kind of content, of course, always give it a like and consider subscribing, because that really helps my channel. That's the last bit that I'm going to put in the intro before we're talking about the battlefield changes. So let's get started. All right, so first of all is the battlefield changes or the battlefield adjustments. As you can see, the Arena of Valor team has been improving the Slayer gameplay. So now you've got the young Slayer, which is this little fellow who is going to be added to your normal pushes when minions are going into the tower. They kind of revoked this because beforehand you had this kind of additional damage that you were dealing to towers, and now you will have 1 wave of Slayer Vanguards. That's this little fellow is called Slayer Vanguard, and this guy is attacking the tower as well, in addition to the normal minions that you've got. In addition to that, afterwards you got the Adult Slayer, so this is 2 waves of Slayer Vanguards, and if you can top it up to the Infinite Slayer, it is added a new effect. After it is killed, the attacker will summon 3 waves of Slayer Vanguard. So the Slayer Vanguard theme is quite strong in this update, so they kind of changed how the Slayer works, but I think it's actually a pretty nice update. I've played 1 game before making this video, and I did not think that this was too strong, but I kind of like the idea that you will get some enhanced troops in order to take down the towers with the Slayer Vanguards, and I think it fixes the basic problem that the Slayers have quite nicely, because beforehand it was kind of like, what is actually going on? Like, how much damage are we going to deal towards the towers? It was kind of a little bit questionable, but now it's kind of actually visible because you've got these little fellows, and it's also cool for the defending team because they know that they need to deal with those guys, and everything is going to be good if the defense is working out nicely. So that's the first part. The second part of the battlefield adjustments is the overhauling of the wildlings. If you guys are a little bit confused, these are the minions, the minion creeps that are there in the jungle, and it seems that Arena of Valor had a problem with the Spirit Sentinel, so the Spirit Sentinel is now removed from the game for good, and they have been adding a new monster who is called the Owl Griff. The Owl Griff gives you basically 35 gold, 100 experience, and the killer recovers 5% of max HP, so that's actually quite nice, but super armor is not longer granted. I can't really tell if that is going to have a great impact on the game. Here in the preview, they stated that the Spirit Sentinel was quite powerful. The fearsome Spirit Sentinel, not in my opinion, but we are going to see if that is really going to have an impact on the game, or if this is just something that they are talking about. Last but not least, they have changed the minion model, so the range attack minion has now a little gold coin on top of him, and if you manage to kill this guy or this little fellow, you will get additional gold. So I think that's actually quite nice. The fourth point that they have been introducing, I think that is actually quite nice. They have changed the way that the jungler weapon passive stack works. So beforehand, it was the case that every single time the jungler has killed a wildling, the jungler would have been given a stack. And that was sometimes a little bit frustrating, because if someone of your team would be getting the last hit, that would mean that you won't get the stack as a jungler, but your team member would get the stack instead. And now they've changed it, so now it's added when a hero kills a wildling, allied heroes within 10 meters would also accumulate passive stacks of jungling equipment, which basically means that if your team member kills the wildling, you will still get the passive stack. So I think that is really helpful, because sometimes you just have this kind of damage race when wildlings are fought in your team. So for example, if you've got the typical Valheim player who tries to get your red buff and you try to steal it before him, you don't need to use your Frostbite anymore, because now you do get the passive stack without any problem, as long as the wildling is killed. Another nice improvement that they have brought to the game is the structure has now an HP bar with numbers. So of course you had an HP bar before, but now you can actually see how much health the structure has left, and you will also see how much damage you are dealing that structure, so you know how many hits you still have to land if you want to take down a core or a tower, for example. I've played a game, as I said before, and this was actually quite handy. It is a lot more convenient to know what this is all about and how much damage you need to take to the tower to actually whittle it down. New highlight broadcast, so there are new features in game, new kind of testimonials whenever you do something. I think that's more some sort of hygienic thing. Battlefield graphics have been improved, so as you can see, they've got more shadows, a little bit more detailed in comparison. If you compare the above Battlefield, which is the old one, versus the new one, so a lot more detail in there. You can see it here, some shadows and purple lightnings here, as well as some new structures here. So everything looks a little bit smoother, and I think that's actually quite nice. The next point is in-game smart tactical communication system update. So there will be some new tactical communication things that you can use to inform your team what has happened. And what is not written down here in the new patch, which I think is the best thing that they have included in the game so far, is that there will be actually some kind of audio whenever something happens. So for example, in my game, when I was playing Zenial as a support and our mid laner has been going down to our lane or moving up the top lane, and the enemy was starting to push into the mid lane tower, there was this audio sequence where the game actually informs you that the mid lane tower is under attack. So I think that's actually quite nice, because I think most of the newer players don't really have this kind of overview what's going to happen on the map if something is pushing here or there. So I think this kind of audio sequence is really helping to know where the action is going on. And for example, if your mid laner has been roaming towards the bottom lane and you are the top laner and the game informs you that the mid lane tower is under attack, it gives you the opportunity to go down there and clear out the minions if it's, for example, just the mid laner pushing that tower and not a big bunch of enemies. So I think that's actually a really good one. Next one is called Battlefield Experience Improvement. So what you can see here is that they changed some of the target indicators. So for example, in this case here, you can see that the indication of Violet is not only marking where her shell traverses from the ultimate, but also the point of impact whenever you're going to hit something. So now you've got this little cone, which means that you will hit all the enemies in that cone on the right hand side. So I think it is a lot clearer on where you are going to inflict damage. They've done it for Yawn as well. They've done it here for Violet's ultimate and Chi's ultimate, so these are the three, but for 38 other heroes you already have some target improvements. And I think that's actually quite good because it just gives you a better understanding on what you are going to do with all your spells in the game. Clarity improvements have been made for the old and the new Abyssal Dragon, as well as some outlines for the towers. So I think in total what they have just been adding to the game in this kind of case is that they have made everything a little bit more visible, and I think that's actually a really good improvement because on the mobile screen it's really small, so there's a lot of information on that screen, and every single bit of information that comes in without thinking about it is actually something that is quite good. For example, you can now see if you are invisible as Batman when you are going to take an action that is going to kind of discover you for the enemy, and I think that's actually quite good. So this is the first part, and now we're going to talk about the new career opportunities. So this is something new that they have added to the game. I think it is especially there for helping out newer players. As you can see, there is a new career system. So you will get some points. For example, you will get some of the Arcana points here for finishing one ranked match every single day, finish any match with a warrior, daily kill Slayer Dragon at that time. So this is going to improve your overall outcome. You will get a lot of rewards on a daily basis, which means that especially for newer players, you can just upgrade your Arcana even more smoothly. And I think that is actually really cool because it just means that a lot of newer players can actually play the game with the experience that we old players already have. Because I don't know if you remember it, because you guys might be all on level 3, but if you compare level 3 Arcana with the level 1 Arcana, this is actually going to be huge. Like the impact from 1 to level 3 is going to be huge, and I see this as a good improvement, as the overall outcome is going to benefit all of the players because your team will be stronger and the new players will have the same experience as we all are going to have. Last but not least, I'm going to put that in the career system here. Skill demonstration improvements, so a lot of heroes that have different sorts of changes from one state to the other. For example, Crash, who's going to be some other person is an ultimate, have been changed with this new adaptation. I think that's for good because now it just makes the game a lot more smoothly. Descriptions have been improved in the game, so now all your equipment just tells you a little bit more, as well as in the enchantment section. And they have also been removing the old armory system, so now you've got an armory system where you can actually see all the equipped items, all the equipped enchantment, and all the equipped arcana, so you can just switch it out by doing one single click here instead of going through different screens, which was always a little bit complicated. Now you've got every single information on one single screen, and I think that really helps out to just change the things that your hero consists of in terms of the equipment and every single thing in addition to that, for example, the talent. So I think that is actually quite good. So images, this is all this kind of thing, ranked improvements, and I would say now we need to talk about the overhauling of heroes, because that's the third part of today's video. So talking about the overhauling of the heroes, or let's say the buffs and the nerfs, the most important thing is that a new hero has been added to the roster. Her name is Helen, and if you guys are looking for her, you can't buy her in the shop, because as soon as you have got PEURA, you will also have Helen, because they did something completely new and they never did that before. PEURA is actually replaced by Helen. So all the PEURA players out there, I'm sorry for you guys. I played Helen in a trial match and it feels basically to be exactly the same, but I'm not really a PEURA player, so I can't really tell in detail. But PEURA is now Helen. The model looks a lot nicer, her animations look a lot smoother, and they just have been given this hero in terms of PEURA, so they've taken PEURA away, but at the same time they've replaced PEURA with Helen. Her passive skills and her first skill and her ultimate has been replaced by different new measures. So increases on movement speed is now increases movement speed. Every single number doubled, so 25% is now 70%, and your first skill is now going to be 30 per level plus 25 magic bonus instead of 100 plus 20. And I think that's actually a good sign, because PEURA wasn't really that powerful, but we are going to see if this is going to be crazy overall. What I don't really like is the 50% magic bonus on the ultimate. So before, with the PEURA version, you were recovering 4% plus 0.4 magic bonus, and now it's a certain number plus 50% magic bonus. But most of the players did not really build PEURA to be a mage, but more sorts of some tank hybrid. So we guys are going to see if this is going to be crazy in the numbers overall. But right now I don't really have the feeling that this champion is going to be a lot better, but this is just my personal opinion. The second hero who has been touched by the overall outcome from all the nerfs and buffs is Lorien, and as they state here in the designer's perspective, excellent sustainability. That's right, projectile is too powerful, so they have been changing a little bit and they've toned it a little bit down. So as you can see, the shock damage is now 30 per level instead of 22. The healing amount has decreased from 36 to 30 plus 18 per level, and the shock damage frequency is toned down as well by 0.25 seconds, and they halve the damage of the shocks and remove the healing effect. So this is going to be quite a big change in the way you play Lorien, because if you just read the first numbers, this is going to be like, okay, well, it's going to be a little bit better, but they halve the damage of shocks and remove the healing effect, and that was the bread and butter from Lorien. So I think he's not going to be as powerful as he was in the past. And they also changed when the projectile is out of Lorien, he gains super armor instead of becoming untargetable. So that's also a really big change. Untargetable was nice. Super armor is still nice, but it's not the same as being untargetable. And the charging time of skill 2 now benefits from the cooldown reduction attribute bonus. So that's actually making him a little bit better, but all in all, that is a nerf. Speaking about nerfs, we also had some buffs here. So Murad is a champion. If you played him lately, he's actually not that good. Like, he is a jungler who was crazy when they introduced him to the game, but nowadays he's basically on the bottom tier of the jungler perspective. So they try to fix this by getting him a cooldown which is fixed by 6 seconds instead of 8 up to 6 when you are going towards the levels. The damage is increased, so you've got additional attack damage, and the diminishing rules means that now reduces the damage by 10% for every enemy foes up to 20%, so that's a little bit less. Okay, they've done something with caffeine as well, but I don't really think that this is going to be crazy. So they changed this by a little bit. So it's 5 heroes all in all. And they also touched the old heroes. So Zenial, what they done was the third passive is now going to be different. So the third normal attack deals additional magic damage is now kind of fixed in the middle, so you've got 5%, but you are now slowing down the target for 1 second by 50%, which I think is actually quite cool because it just means that your team can chase the enemies a little bit more effective. And your next skill is going to deal magic damage and reset the cooldown of the passive, which is actually quite nice. And your skill cooldown on the skill that must be the second skill is now the cooldown is fixed on 11 minus 0.6 per level instead of 10, but I think this is not going to have a huge impact because it's just 1 second. And the ultimate has now been tweaked by getting a little bit more damage. Now you've got damage instead of just the damage reduction. The target will get a shield instead of just the damage reduction, so you've got a shield that the teammate can actually work with. And the cool thing, which I really like, is that you can now cast a first spell here when you are about to be teleported. So it's not landing somewhere with no defenses cast, but now you've got the first skill which is activated when you are about to be teleported, and when your target dies, your teleporting is just interrupted and you're not going to teleport at all, because that was sometimes a bummer. You've wanted to prevent someone who is playing under tower, you were teleporting, team member is dead, and you're still teleporting to the point of origin where your teammate dies, and this is going to be a lot more handy and a lot more careful, because otherwise you would just went there and you kind of died as well. So this is a good thing. So now you've got Baldom, which is the last hero that we need to talk about. The special ability because of his ultimate that immobilizes his enemies, which makes it difficult for enemies to counter him. So what they changed, they removed the additional armor bonus, which was actually quite nice. I mean, that armor bonus really kept him in the game. So they changed it. Normal attacks now to deal magic damage. Instead, they changed it to enemies hit by Baldom skills are inflicted with vulnerability. I don't know. Skill range has decreased. They removed the slow effect on target that is hit, and they reduced the mana cost. So they wanted to make this thing a little bit more cost effective. Successfully hits reduce the cooldown of the skill, double damage to wildlings. So now enemies hit deal 20% less to Baldom, which is actually the additional armor bonus. And whenever you are going to use the second skill, you are going to get 60% damage reduction for 2 seconds up to 4 stacks, which means that this is now 24% of damage, and this is going to be increased by the number of levels that you have. The slow is from 1 second to 2 seconds, which is actually quite nice, and the mana cost has been decreased, which is also quite good. Unfortunately, they changed the cast method from target location to target enemy. The cast range has decreased by a lot. It's nearly halved, and the ultimate speed is a little bit less fast, but the enemy is knocked up for 0.5 seconds after escaping. So I think this was supposed to be a buff, but it really reads it as this was going to be some kind of nerf, which I don't really understand because Baldom wasn't as strong at all, so I don't really get what they were intending to do with that, but that's basically the hero description. And last but not least is now the last mode implemented to the game, which is the double ultimate mode, so be prepared for that. So here we go. It's the double ultimate mode. That's a new kind of game mode that they have just invented in the game. And it's a classic 5v5 map, and the rules are adopted in this mode to respect to the certain double ultimate. There is an extra ultimate mechanic, so you will get an extra ultimate, which means that the cooldown logic of the extra ultimate is the same as normal ultimate, but you will be able to select an extra ultimate after all players finish selecting a hero. When selecting an extra ultimate, each player will be randomly assigned 3 extra ultimates, excludes the ultimates already selected by all players. Players will have 20 seconds to choose one ultimate. Extra ultimate damage conversion mechanic, and that's basically it. So I think that's actually quite cool because it gives a much needed versatility to the game. It's going to be one of those fun modes where you're going to have this kind of moment of unknown where you guys are going to find out what ultimate the enemies have actually chosen. Vice versa, they will not know what you guys have chosen, but this is going to be a really cool mode, and I will play the new double ultimate mode. I'm going to upload a video to tell you what I think about it, because I think that's actually quite cool. Coming with that, they have done a lot of graphic things and bug fixes, but that was the last point of today's video. They have been introducing the new mode double ultimate. That was the new patch. I hope you guys liked it. I hope you guys like this kind of discussion where I'm talking about the new patch. I hope you guys are clicking it and liking it and watching all of it. And if you want to see more videos about that on the current patches of the game, just tell me in the comments below. Hope you guys had some good time of getting new information about the game. And yeah, keep watching. And thanks. Bye bye.